Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
In the beginning, God had one law: don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So tune in to Talk Law Radio every Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon, or listen on podcasts anytime, Facebook or YouTube. You can also go to talklawradio.com. I'm starting the legacy segment a little early because I have a lot to say.
And now, it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
So which will are you missing from your estate plan? You've heard of the living will, you've heard of the last will, and you've heard of the living trust, but have you ever heard of an ethical will? What is an ethical will? Why is it useful? And how do you make one? Well, your living will directs your physician and family to either pull the plug or continue life support. Your last will nominates your executor and bequests your assets and property to your beneficiaries. Your ethical will informs, educates, and advises your loved ones about your values. The oldest known ethical will was the blessing Jacob gave to Joseph. Jacob begins with a statement of his faith. He says, quote, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day." That was Genesis 48:15. And then he continues, quote, "The angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." That's from Genesis 48:16. The second part of the blessing are the wishes and hopes Jacob had for his grandchildren. The traditional blessing serves as an ethical will and then continued in England. In England, prior to the 18th century, it was common to include a statement of faith in the preamble of a last will and testament. I've done a few of those for my clients. If a client of mine wears their heart on their sleeve and their faith on their forehead, I ask them, do you want a preamble, a statement of faith in your will? But ethical wills are not always religious. Some values serve to inspire children and grandchildren to carry on the family wealth, success, or reputation. Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is well known for his philosophy: to live, to learn, to love, and to leave a legacy. So writing an ethical will is useful for your loved ones, whether you're wealthy or whether your assets are modest. You might model your ethical will after the decedent in Brewster's Millions to teach beneficiaries that money doesn't equal happiness. Have you seen Brewster's Millions? It's got Richard Pryor in it. It's hilarious. I highly recommend it. Although it's not recommended for small children, there's probably some cursing going on there. Your ethical will might remind the family that there's no inheritance because the assets were used to pay for vacations or education. An ethical will can be written into your last will, but it isn't required, and we don't recommend it. We discourage writing statements about hopes and wishes in a will because some people might confuse what lawyers call precatory statements with words that are used to affect the transfer of ownership of assets or property. Instead, your ethics and values should be written in a document separate from your last will. So making 2 documents, an ethical will and a last will, make it clear which statements are legally binding and which are not. I want to tell you a quick story. So I know this guy, Lenny. He went on vacation and asked his friend Bobby to watch over his house. About a week later, Lenny calls Bobby and says, "How's my cat?" Bobby hesitated and sadly told Lenny that his cat had died. "What? You shouldn't have broke the news to me like that. You should have done it slowly. The first time I called, you should have told me that my cat was on the roof. The second time I called, you should have said there's no way to get him down. The third time I called, you should have told me that you tried to get the cat off the roof, but she fell down and died." Bobby apologized. About a week later, Lenny called again and asked, "How's my granny doing?" There was a long silence, and then Bobby replied, "Well, she's on the roof." Yeah, it's funny to me. Okay, so in the history of ethical wills, the Jewish tradition is that there's a lot of them out there. If you just Google ethical wills, you'll run across a lot of Jewish focused ethical wills. And this one, I'm going to read just a little bit of a famous one, ethical will of Judah Tibon from France. And he says, "My son, list to my precepts." Now, this is old language, so it's not that I lost the ability to speak, but these are the actual words. "Neglect none of my injunctions. Set my admonition before your eyes. Thus shall you prosper and prolong your days in pleasantness." That's just the beginning. Now, this is very long. If you want me to send you the link where you can read this in its full text, email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOS as in Sam, T as in Timothy, at talklawradio.com, and I'll send you the link for the full thing. It's called A Father's Admonition. Your ethical will can leave your values. If you spent your whole life trying to impress upon your family members what your values were, but you feel like an alien, you feel like that they didn't ever hear you or understand you, then you can write it down on paper. And you know what's really cool? If you do it in your own handwriting, it means more, because it's like your handwriting is a photograph of how you write. They can imagine what you were doing when you were writing that. And so it's pretty neat. I had some of the things that my mother wrote. She used to send a lot of greeting cards because her mother, my grandmother, managed a Hallmark store. And so we always had to have Hallmark greeting cards. In fact, when us kids would give her greeting cards, she'd open it from the envelope and immediately turn it onto its back to see if it was a Hallmark genuine card. But anyway, I digress. Your ethical will can leave your values. So I was looking at the definition of the word value, and so I asked my friend Melody, who's an artist, I said, one of the definitions of values said that the word originated as a term that artists would use when they were painting. So I asked Melody about this, and she said that value in color refers to lightness and darkness. The lighter a color is, the higher value it is, and the darker it is, the lower the value. And that just resonated with me, because when the Bible talks about light and darkness, it says that the light is something that we should go towards the light. Those are the good things. Only bad things happen in the darkness. And so Jesus was the light of the world. And so that's a higher value. Some values, I did this document. I tried to list out every single value that I could think of. And believe it or not, somebody already did it. And his name is Steve Pavlina. It's on his blog. And if you want a copy of this, I just made a whole list. I've got let's see how many there are, 418 values. And so I think what I'm going to do, haven't done this for my own kids yet, but maybe I'll just highlight the ones that I think that are the most important to me or that reflect me so that they can remember me. I'll send you this document also if you email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. But I thought that was really neat to put that together so that people knew what values were. You have any friends or family that don't know what their values are? I did an interview for a new worker bee at Marquardt Law Firm a couple of months ago. And I asked her, how do you know right from wrong? And she couldn't tell me. Trust me, it's true. And so I asked her, have you killed anybody? And she said no. And I said, well, why not? Because she couldn't tell me what was right from wrong. And so I didn't end up hiring her because I was worried that in her day-to-day work at my law office that she wouldn't know right from wrong. Well, I got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about ethical wills. Stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.